Good evening and welcome to the regular board meeting of Carpinteria Unified School District. It is February 25th, 2025. If everybody could please stand for the flag salute. Ready, begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We're going to begin with C2, our closed session report. We had a conference with labor negotiators. Information was exchanged. No action was taken. And we are now going to move on to C3, public comment for items not on this agenda. If you would like to speak to something that is not reflected in this evening's agenda, please feel free to come up to the podium now. And just if there's multiple, then go ahead and line up at the podium. You'll be given your time. And so this is an opportunity to comment for things that are not on tonight's agenda. Okay. Not seeing any. Oh, there we go. Make sure the green light's on. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, so hello, Crystal Marshall, Gifted Education Coordinator. So since I last spoke, I thought more about how eliminating GATE will be a disservice to the approximately 80 students I proudly teach. According to R.J. Maloney's oral PhD defense with Cal Lutheran University in 2024, about 10% of California students are English learners. However, only 2 to 3% of those English learners are GATE identified. In the current GATE cohorts in Carpinteria, the English learner representation for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade is as follows: 25%, 10%, and 5%, respectively. As a note, when I calculated these figures, I did not factor into these percentages that the students who speak Spanish at home and have already passed the LPAC. This choice may explain why the English learner percentages decrease across grade levels, since those students have had more opportunities to pass the LPAC. While I will be the first to acknowledge that only one GATE cohort has representative English learner status, we are doing at least twice as good than the rest of the state at identifying gifted English learners. The reason I bring this up is because language status and race are correlated with income. I fear that if GATE is eliminated, the trend will continue of more affluent and more often white families enrolling their gifted children in private school. Sure, the wealthier families will be able to access an intellectually stimulating and meaningful school environment for their child, but where does this leave families who are financially barred from those schools? GATE programming is equity work. Please do not leave the gifted English learners with fewer resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Please just come on up.
Hi, thank you. I'm just here on behalf of Carpinteria Family School, specifically to thank Andy Schaefer for coming to meet with us. We really appreciate it so much. It was a gracious offer. We really appreciated the warmth of our conversation and your willingness to listen and to share. Our conversation was, we all left feeling really good about our time with you, and we wanted to thank you for listening to some additional perspectives, including from some teachers in the community, and thinking about with us the unique position that CFS is in to serve specific needs of some specific children in our community, and also to think with us about how that would be lost if family school is phased out. So thank you. We're also grateful. We loved hearing you speak about the way that you saw public education as the heart of a community, and we also share that value. So thank you for sharing that. We just wanted to come and say thank you for your time. We appreciate it, and we look forward to more warm and thoughtful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Any further? Oh, here we go.
Thank you. As you know, my name is Jay Hotchner, and I serve as the Employee Union President in Carpinteria Unified School District. I deliver the following comments on behalf of district employees who elected both myself and the members of our union leadership team to share their experiences, questions, and concerns. Now, 21 months after the 23-24 contract negotiations began, CUSD's last best offer remains a 2% increase for teachers and a 2.5% increase for district support staff. Meanwhile, based on CUSD's most recent public remarks, the district appears to be walking away from even that. Not only have district officials spent the same 21 months squandering several $1 million on now verified unlawful attacks against employee representatives, these same district officials gave themselves 2 salary increases that already the highest paid administrators in the district, all during the same time period that employees working directly with students and families received none. Now you'll hear the school board say that the district is receiving insufficient revenues to maintain adequate resources and programs for CUSD students. And once again, our district board members point in every direction but themselves, offering more spin and no accountability. Sure, more money would help, but CUSD's problem is not insufficient revenues, because despite robust property tax revenues, which CUSD receives at a rate higher than 96% of public school districts in the state, CUSD continues to prioritize reckless spending priorities. As the December audit exposed, $3.5 million, the equivalent of 17% pay increase, a 17% pay increase for all district employees, was not invested in those who work with district students and families, as was required by Ed Code. Instead, that $3.5 million was spent attempting to silence the voices of employees and undermine the economic and professional stability of both employees and their elected leaders. It also came out of quality programs. For example, the underfunding per pupil compared to the state of Carpinteria Family School students at 44% lower than state average. Again, CUSD's revenues would not be the problem had district officials not misappropriated $3.5 million in the last 21 months, as is concretely evidenced in the CUSD's annual audit, page 82, released in December, which confirmed that CUSD again underpaid a staggering $3.5 million. Had the district officials invested these funds legally and without malice, CUSD would have more than enough revenues to make appropriate investments in essential employee positions, in the programs they're now cutting, like the GATE program, in maintaining a robust Carpinteria Family School, and a variety of after-school tutoring opportunities, and students' special education rights and IEP goals, which are currently going unfulfilled. The ongoing impasse threatens the stability of the workforce and the maintenance of a demonstrably successful student and family-centered programs. And the biggest losers will inevitably, if this continues, be the district students and families, as employees are now forced to discuss things like work slowdowns, working to the contract, and even a general strike. Thank you.
Further public comment for items not on this evening's agenda.
Would like to translate what Jay Hatchner just said. Soy Jay Hatchner, presidente del Sindicato de Maestros y Empleados. Después de 21 meses, el distrito escolar sigue ofreciendo 2% para los maestros, pero siguen atacando al líder, ataques ilegales. En la propia auditoría del distrito se descubrió que $3.5 millones de dólares no se gastaron en salarios ni en los empleados, sino que se gastaron tratando de silenciar a los empleados. Asimismo, las metas del programa GATE y la Family School no se han cumplido, quizás hasta desaparezcan. Y aunque los empleados no lo deseen, se contempla una huelga. Los grandes perdedores de una huelga son los estudiantes y las familias. That's the end of that translation. Now I would like to proceed with my own public comment. about the budget.
Monica, can you please ensure you restart the clock? Thank you.
The budget. About a month ago or so, the board said that 7% increase was offered to teachers and employees. If one of you mentions that and the other four do not disagree with that, then that applies to the whole board. The superintendent, Diana Rigby, when the newspaper called her for an interview regarding the march of the teachers, she said, well, the district has offered 3.5%, 2%. She never mentioned 7%. It's on the record. She never mentioned 7%, but you did. So it's been 21 months without the teacher getting a decent salary. 2%. That's an insult to teachers, students, and families. Try to survive with a 2% increase, and not only not receiving it for 21 months, but you yourself try to survive with a 2% increase. You can't. It's an insult. Problems with the budget? You don't have a problem wasting millions of dollars on legal fees. 2021, you lost to the union and Jay Hutchner. You appealed. You lost. You lost again. December 2023. You sued the state on 2024. 30%. It's a chance that they're going to lose. So what you're doing is that you're affecting students, teachers, special education teachers, and the most vulnerable special education students. Be careful. Be careful. Thank you.
Members of the board, Superintendent Rigby, I too want to thank you, Andy, for coming and joining us and having a great conversation. We really appreciate that. During the conversation, it sounds like there's a assumption that there's going to be a significant bulk savings to the budget by moving the multi-level classroom to Canalino. And in follow-up to that meeting, we've asked to really kind of see what those numbers look like with a side-by-side comparison. Carpinteria Family School has a 23-year track record of multi-level classrooms. And we would request consideration to keep that multi-level classroom at Family School as opposed to moving it to Canalino. And we would love to understand what the board is envisioning by way of cost savings by having that same structure, those same students. There aren't administration costs that will be saved outside of the teacher that is retiring, but there's still going to need to be a teacher for those students. So we really appreciate your consideration in that. We really appreciate the conversation and look forward to the follow-up from that.
Thank you. Okay. Not seeing any further public comment. We are going to move on to see,
Appreciate. Sorry for the
it's okay.
quick
Take your
jump in
time.
here. I'm here to speak today about the Carpinteria Family School. Both my father and my mother, they worked within public education sector, so I recognize all of the challenges and the frustrations at times, but certainly the victories that exist for CUSD and all of the district's teachers and workers. But by all measures of success, qualitative and quantitative, the Carpinteria Family School is a victory. From students and their experiences, it's a success. From the teachers and the administrators there, it's a success. From a rating standpoint, you look at the rating that CFS has, and it's not just a success for Carpinteria, but it's a marker of success for all of SB County and much of the Central Coast too. And what creates success is good policy. And we're fortunate to have very solid elementary schools here in Carpinteria, thanks to wonderful teachers and administrators and staff. But we have the CFS because of good policy decisions from legacy CUSD members in the 90s and the 2000s. And what advances success is to take good policy decisions, and then you determine how to either scale those good models of success or you repeat parts of them somewhere else. And based on the initial budget outline and what I understand of the CUSD's plans to reduce budget, there's very little logic found in deconstructing a successful model. You can't rob Peter to pay Paul in hopes of adding to your overall success. It won't happen. You'll simply incur a debt elsewhere. And bad policy takes away from an existing success. It thinks this works, so maybe it can still work with less. CFS is not just a good school program, but it pays dividends for CARP's ability to draw new residents to pay higher taxes, to then fund CUSD programs. It pays dividends in creating a more diverse population of middle school kids who become high school kids, who become adults and citizens in town and the workforce. That's the impact of good education. So my question to the board is, what makes scaling back CFS funding a good policy decision? Why subtract from arguably the best success as a school program that CARP has? And so my challenge to the board is then to come up with more dynamic solutions to the budget issues. I know it's hard. It's hard enough running just a budget for a house. Our educators don't expect simple answers to complex problems from their students. So in turn, the public expects creative solutions to dynamic problems. Thank you.
Feel free to email and reach out to further the conversation. Thank you.
Good evening. I just wanted to reiterate that a 2% raise for our teachers here in Carpinteria who take care of our kids and are creating these creative future educators that we need even more now, need a bigger raise with their medical benefits. The COLA for Santa Barbara County this year is larger than 2%. When we look at Section 8 housing and what we consider low income, $79,000 is considered low income for a home. That's two parents with no kids. We all know we need to make more than that, but a teacher who works in Carpinteria barely makes that. A 12-year teacher in Carpinteria only makes around $88,000. And yet across the state, the county line, it's $25,000 more than that. We need to come up and give them a fair living wage. They do not stop working when they get home. After they've put their kids to bed, they take out their teacher bag, they grade their papers, they send emails, they write IEPs. They do not come to school on time. They come to school 30 minutes to an hour before the kids get here so they can prepare the classroom for the day. We are not in this business to make money. We are in it for the education of our kids, and it's a calling. But we have to be paid to continue to survive and live and be good and healthy at what we do for our future kids, for our community. Carpinteria wants the best teachers. We want to keep the staffs we have who are highly qualified, who work together in teams. Our seasoned professionals are working with our new teachers to build them up. We want to continue to keep them, but we have to pay them. So 2%'s not enough. You need to up it. You need to find the money. You need to defund something. Any salaries you're receiving need to be done. We need to end these lawsuits. I know, I was thinking that too. We need to end the lawsuits. You need to figure out a way to cut it and make both sides happy so we can have that money back. $20,000 is too much money to spend for a lawyer. That should go into a classroom where our Carpinteria future generations are able to take that money and grow, where teachers can use that to supplement what they need and to get more training if needed. Consider other ways to find money to fund your teachers' salaries. These people take care of your children, my children, from 8 o'clock to the end of the day, but their day's not over when they go home. It continues into the evening. Have any of you been to a school in the last 2 weeks? I challenged you. Have you been to a classroom and seen what these people are doing? What's going on?
Thank
Go.
you. Okay. Moving on to C4, approval of the minutes. We will now take public comment on approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of February 11th, 2025. If you have comment on C4, approval of the minutes from February 11th, please step up to the podium at this time.
Alrighty, thank you. Let the minutes show for the second board meeting in a row, our board members again reduced the amount of time community members were permitted to provide public comment. On February 11th, district officials further reduced the remaining public comment allowance by limiting speakers to 2 minutes instead of the routine 3 minutes. Let the minutes show that as soon as teachers, support staff, and community members began to attend and speak at board meetings en masse, sharing their concerns about district leadership's performance, arbitrary and politicized decision-making, CUSD board members immediately acted to reduce public speaking opportunities at all future meetings, while telling the community that they want to hear from you. Go figure. Let the minutes show that once again, the superintendent's report on February 11th was more noteworthy for what she left out versus what she included. Let the minutes show that although Ms. Rigby shared STAR testing data suggesting 60% of some elementary students are reading at grade level, the STAR test is no longer used as a highly reliable benchmark for student achievement. Although the STAR test was a norm nationwide between 1998 and 2013, it was replaced over 10 years ago by the more precise CASP. Superintendent Rigby knows this, and she also knows that our board members and many community members probably do not. Let the minutes show when examining the more reliable benchmarks, the CASP results contained in this evening's LCAP presentation at item E4, we find very different results than those Ms. Rigby shared last week or 2 weeks ago. The CASP data on page 2 of the LCAP confirms that just 50% of all 5th graders, 46% of 8th graders, and just 40% of 11th graders met the state's English language standards, English language arts standards. And when remaining students with and examining students with disabilities, just 17% of all 5th graders, 13% of 11th graders, and exactly 0% of 8th graders met the state's English language arts standards. Ms. Rigby was also aware that the data on page 3 confirms that 37% of 5th graders, 43 of 8th graders, and just 24 of 11th graders met the state's math standards. Let the minutes show that no less than 29 individual public speakers provided comments pertaining to the impact of the district's mismanagement of revenues, to include reducing investments in Carpinteria Family School, already funded at a rate of 44% less per student than state averages, or cutting the entire GATE program, or the failure to budget for cost of living increases and attempts to cut employee health care. Further cutting federally mandated SPED services for our most at-risk students and families, and cuts to other high-quality student programming and experiences, like elementary field trips. Finally, let the minutes show that the property tax presentation at minute 12205 confirmed that even with the district's recent decision to reduce property tax projections to 5%, CUSD will still receive
Thank you. Your time is
far
up.
more
Your
than
time is
96%
up.
of the districts in the
Thank
state.
you. Your time
Thank
is
you.
up.
This is Jay's translation of the minutes. Que los minutos muestren que el tiempo de los comentarios públicos se redujeron a 2 minutos. Que los minutos muestren que, aunque la superintendente dijo que, que algunos estudiantes de primaria están leyendo según el estándar, o sea, que leen a un 60%, no es así. También los estudiantes con discapacidades están a un nivel mucho más bajo al que deberían estar. También solo el 24% de estudiantes del año 11 cumplen con el estándar, con el requisito de matemáticas. El problema mayor es que no es la falta de dinero en el distrito, sino cómo los oficiales malgastan los recursos de la comunidad. Thank you.
Further public comment on approval of the minutes from February 11th. Okay, seeing none, may I get a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes of February 11th.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We are going to move on to C5, approval of the agenda and consent agenda. I will note there are several changes that will be part of my motion. So the first will be that in D1, field trip request to the Mystic Whaler, it states the district's financial responsibility is transportation, and that is being struck because the parent group is paying the $154.40 for transportation. And then on D2, my motion will also include that is supposed to include Summerlin School as well. So Canalino Family School and Summerlin on D2. It's reflected by the teacher. It just didn't state the school name. So just for your information, if you're going to be commenting on approval of agenda and consent agenda, there will be those two changes. And at this time, we will take public comment now on C5.
Alrighty, the consent agenda, as with the rest of the board meeting, is governed by the Brown Act. The Brown Act is designed to prevent the advancement of public business without transparency. It is designed to provide members of the community an opportunity to more thoroughly consider the details associated with matters of district business before those matters are quickly processed through the consent agenda en masse. None of this evening's consent agenda items have been brought before the public at a previous board meeting, and CUSD's consistent practice of ramming through items this way to be approved with a single up or down vote obscures debate and prevents dissenting viewpoints and concerns from being placed on the public record. This evening's consent agenda is fairly innocuous. It does not contain any significant monetary investments in highly questionable or concerning items. But make no mistake, CUSD's consent agendas often do contain such items, and the continued misuse of the consent agenda process is intended to grease the wheels for when the consent agenda does not contain less innocuous items that district officials would prefer do not receive the full measure of scrutiny that they deserve and are legally entitled. For example, recent purchases on handheld technology at the very time the district is removing and discarding the same similar items from students. Or how about the hundreds of thousands of dollars rammed through recent consent agendas and provided to contracting firms to replace the service of permanent employees? Services purchased at extraordinarily high rates, in part because CUSD's unprofessional workplace culture has driven away many talented employees, as have low compensation, and partly also because the superintendent would prefer to supervise those who do not have access to either contractual rights in collective bargaining agreements or access to legally protected advocacy provided by competent union representatives. Examples would be contracted nurses, instructional aides, and special education teachers. One who was just fired last week because she reported to law enforcement the potential abuse of a SPED student under Ms. Rigby's supervision. Now, setting aside our concerns associated with the District Brown Act violations, employees do strongly support several items contained in this evening's consent agenda: the FFA field trips, the Aliso, Summerlin, and Catalino field trip to the harbor, which, by the way, are being cut next year as a result of CUSD's mismanagement of its robust basic aid revenues. The purchase of Permabound for DLI books at Aliso, the contract between CUSD and United Way, and the January payroll. But, of course, for the portion associated with the 2 pay raises that already the highest paid administrators in the district gave themselves in the same 21-month period that employees have received no cost of living increase. But don't for a second think that employees support how CUSD processes these expenditures under the consent agenda, and don't for a minute think that employees' support for any specific item should shroud the much larger violations that this process that you use represents. Thank you.
Any further public comment on approval of the agenda and consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll make the motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda with the following amendments. To D1, strike the final 2 sentences that begin with the districts only, and to be replaced with transportation paid by parent support group. And then on D2, add Summerland as one of the 3 schools noted in the parentheses of the title: Canalino Family School and Summerland.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, discussion? Okay. Roll call?
Eric?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Sally?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
I'm aye.
Wonderful. Okay, so now we are moving on to public interest reports and presentations. So we will now take public comment for anything that falls under E of public interest reports and presentations. Now is your chance for public comment on anything within E.
Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. Last December, at the city council meeting, I talked about school violence in general at the national level, local level. Why did I mention that? Well, as we know, at the national level, there's been shootings, there's been stabbings, and I talking about school safety.
Not in here.
The sheriff was there. City council members join in. I question the sheriff. Have you ever trained school officials, teachers, on violence? How to react to violence at the moment? How about active shooter training? You might say nothing will happen in a small city. So I asked the sheriff again. We have been going on contacting each other. Have you ever trained our local officials, school officials, on violence, on safety meetings, active shooting drills? Have you gotten that training? Why not? I'm going to meet again with the sheriff along with community members about this.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Any further public comment on E?
Regarding the superintendent's report on school safety plans, employee leadership takes no pleasure clarifying the following. Employees in their elected leadership strongly encourage parents to dig into this topic. Although some schools are doing better than others, and recognition goes to Principals Cornejo at the high school and Principal Weiberg at Aliso, the utter lack of standardization, collaboration, and coordination across the system leaves the district's overall safety response in a pants-down posture. On paper, we look fabulous, but in practice, these documents are a paper dragon. Upon arrival, Ms. Rigby inherited safety protocols and practices that included the following: standardized school site and facility registration processes and badging for all employees, visitors, and contractors. No more. But for the high school, single access points at all school sites, facilities, during instructional and after-school program hours. No more. Mandatory district-wide CPR and first aid training. No more. Robust school site facility safety committees, including parent leaders, mental health specialists, site administrators, counselors, faculty and support staff, union representatives, and at the secondary level, even student representatives. No more. A robust district safety committee that met monthly, including all principals, supervisors, directors, faculty and support, staff leaders, elected union representatives, student leaders, and even the following external agency partners from HopeNet, Mental Health Services, Law Enforcement, Fire and Rescue, Carpinteria Planning, Santa Barbara Ready, Set, Prepare, and occasionally even FEMA. No more. In fact, there has been a single district-wide safety meeting this year held on December 5th, and it was approximately 1 hour. It was informational, and no safety recommendations were processed, and no safety inquiries were responded to afterward. But look, we only have 3 minutes, so we must move on. As for the LCAP, this is another document we encourage parents and our school board to actually dig into. Certainly 3 minutes is insufficient time to provide serious observations on such an extensive set of data. Although we suspect that the board will do all it can to emphasize the very few modest gains, the overall observations that we have is that why such robust basic aid revenues and our numbers are still so very low. The following pages contain some pretty revealing data. Page 2, language arts standards proficiencies. Page 3, math standards proficiencies. Page 4, the discrepancy between local data here collected in the district and external data that is not subject to admin's pressure and thumb in regard to grade inflation. Page 5, page 8, page 9, confirmation that GATE is having a significantly positive impact. I could go on.
Thank you. Your time is up. Any further public comment on E? Okay. Seeing none, we will now move into our student representative report with Angel.
Good afternoon. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Angel Pineda. I'm a senior at Carpinteria High School, and I'm this year's student representative. And this is the report that I have to give from the high school. From March 10th to the 12th, CHS will welcome the WASC Visiting Committee for a full self-study visit. A team of 4 educators from Southern California schools will be on site to observe classroom instruction and engage in discussions with students, parents, and staff. This visit represents a significant opportunity for CHS to showcase its commitment to excellence in education and comprehensive student support. On to sports. Softball is on the road on Tuesday, today, while boys volleyball hosts Ventura and boys tennis hosts Bishop Diego. The swimmers will dive into the 2025 season on Wednesday at Winimi High School tomorrow. This weekend begins with boys tennis hosting Foothill Tech on Thursday, baseball hosting Santa Clara on Friday, and boys volleyball participating in the Pioneer Valley Tournament in Santa Maria on Friday and Saturday. The first official track and field meet of the year will be the Rincon Races on Saturday at Carpinteria Valley Memorial Stadium starting at 10 a.m. And for clubs, Carpinteria FFA has placed second place team and individually at the Fillmore Farm Power Contest located here at the Ventura County section. Carpinteria FFA has taken students to many of these career development events, and this is the closest one to our area, and the students love going to this event every single time, as it has our old advisor and also has many opportunities and just super cool machines. Thank you.
I think you ought to share with everybody what you're running for at the moment.
Yes. In regards for FFA, I am running to be a state officer representing the state of California to further advocate for agricultural literacy and advocacy throughout the entire state of California, representing the California Farm Bureau and California Department of Education. I do have to go through various interviews starting in 6 days. It is not an easy task, and it is very much likely that I will not make the running this year, but I do have next year, and I hope to improve on what I can and to bring back to the community of Carpinteria.
They'd
Wow.
be crazy if they don't get you.
Angel, please let us know if there's anything we can do to help support you or letters of recommendation. I know just there's probably nobody that would say no to that. So thank you.
And I would just encourage anybody, all you kids out here, when you get to the high school, to look into the FFA program, because it's not just animals. It's learning about agriculture in general. Your public speaking. You get to do competitions. You can learn about how to judge vegetables and fruit, and you can go to public speaking contests and learn about the legislative process and advocating for things you believe in. And I am part of the Boosters Club at the high school for the FFA program, and I will just say we had a meeting last week, and the students, the officers who spoke to us are incredibly impressive. Their speaking ability, and especially since I've known a lot of you since you were your age out here, and your poise and confidence and grasp of the subject is very impressive. And so I wouldn't downplay your ability or your chances, Angel. I think you're going to surprise us all. And good luck to you.
So any of you guys, the kids out there that went to the high school or got pumpkins around Halloween time, that was part of the FFA program. And so you someday, if you participated, could be helping other kindergartners pick out their pumpkin, which is really fun. Thank you again, Angel. Anybody else? No? Okay. Thank you. We are now moving on to our superintendent's report.
And Angel, we have full confidence in you being very successful. So we can't wait to hear about the results. Thank you. So tonight I'd like to begin with appreciation. I'd like to recognize all the CHS student athletes, coaches, athletic director Pat Cooney, and assistant athletic director Charles Bryant for a great winter season of water polo, basketball, and soccer. All teams competed in several rounds of championship play with hard-fought contests, high-quality sportsmanship, and true warrior spirit and grit. Read Across America 2025. Read Across America is an annual event celebrated on or near March 2nd, which is the birthday of children's author Dr. Seuss. It is a nationwide reading celebration that was created by the National Education Association in 1997 to promote literacy and encourage a love of reading among children. Guest readers will join our elementary classrooms for read-alouds on Friday. We are grateful for all our school staff in their support for our students as readers. Next week, Catalino and Family School will have a Career Exploration Week. The Catalino and Family School students will explore job training, job interviews, dream jobs, and career choices during the week, and on Friday, Career Day, students will meet a variety of professionals, including a former NFL player, a police officer, chiropractor, film producer, screenwriter, coffee business owner, executive chef, a school counselor, and a California avocado farmer and school board member. Thank you, Andy. Staff and families appreciate the community's volunteerism to help our students imagine a future with their dream career. And counselors Shanna Hargett and Tricia Humbles organized and facilitated this wonderful wonderful week of career exploration. My next item is our school safety plans. As a district, we're committed to be prepared as possible for school emergencies and to maintain safe and orderly learning environments. Each year, school safety plans are reviewed, updated, and adopted by the School Site Council or designated safety committee and approved by the school district. California Ed Code Section 32281 outlines the requirements, which include an assessment of the current status of school crime, child abuse reporting procedures, disaster procedures, our crisis response plan, our suspension and expulsion policies, procedures for notifying teachers of dangerous students, school discipline and dress code, safe ingress and egress, discrimination harassment policies, protocols for secondary schools in response to and tactical responses to criminal incidents. Our safety plans are posted on our district website at cusd.net. Last week, in January, our high school hosted parents and students from the class of 2029 for parent-student orientation. An overview of CHS academic, athletic, art, and extracurricular programs was provided in addition to a senior student panel. And our last item is the UCSB Destination College Mesa Day 2025. CMS and CHS Mesa students will attend UCSB College Mesa Day on Saturday, March 8th. Our students will participate in college tours, college prep workshops, and STEM events. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board on the superintendent's report?
I'm just looking forward to the career day. Yeah, as I know.
So are our
almost
students.
Everyone, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on Friday at Catalino, that's for sure. Wow. Okay, we are now moving on to Catalino dual immersion presentation. Principal Luis Quintero, along with 3rd and 5th graders, will present on our dual language immersion program. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight to present our dual language immersion students. Here we have some of our 3rd graders in Maestra Maria's and Maestra Maritza's class, and we have some 5th graders in Maestra Garcia's and Maestra Strong's class. Today, they wrote a little something for you all about what it means to be bilingual. So first, we're going to start with our 3rd graders, and then we'll move on to our 5th graders.
Hola, mi nombre es Meiko Lua Armstrong Yamamura. Estoy en el tercer grado en el programa de doble inmersión de Catalino. Bilingüe significa que puedes hablar 2 idiomas. Ser bilingüe te da una mejor oportunidad para conseguir un trabajo. Ser bilingüe puede ayudarte a viajar a muchos lugares porque puedes hablar 2 idiomas. Si tienes abuelos que por ejemplo, hablan español y tu primer lenguaje es inglés, puedes practicar español y hablar con tus abuelos y ser bilingüe. Si te encanta leer, podrías leer el doble de libros. Cuando yo estaba en kinder, yo tenía un poquito miedo porque yo venía de una casa que solo habla inglés. Solamente sabía 3 palabras en español: agua, hola y bien. No tenía ninguna idea de cómo escribir en español, pero mis maestras me han ayudado a aprender cómo escribir, hablar y contar en español durante los años y he mejorado. Ahora puedo hablar, escribir y leer más en español, pero todavía estoy practicando. Ser bilingüe significa hablar 2 idiomas de cualquier lenguaje. Ser bilingüe es importante porque en algunos lugares solo se habla un lenguaje y puedes comunicarte con ellos. Porque si una persona necesita ayuda y habla ese lenguaje, puedo ayudar a ellos. Porque si su maestra o maestro están hablando conmigo y yo entiendo lo que está diciendo. Porque si acepta un trabajo que todos hablan un idioma, puedes intentarlo más fácil. Cuando viajas a otro lugar que habla otro idioma, puedes entender. Ser bilingüe ayuda porque si tú obtienes un trabajo y son bilingües, puedes agarrar más dinero y tienes más oportunidades. ¿Aquí? ¿Aquí?
Hola, me llamo Derek. Yo vine de México y ya llevo 3 años en los Estados Unidos. A lo largo de mi vida me he dado cuenta que ser bilingüe es una ventaja, desde poder decir los buenos días a las maestras hasta poder tener una conversación en los ambos idiomas. Además, ser bilingüe no es algo en lo que un día te despiertas y ya seas bilingüe, es algo en lo que tienes que esforzarte y dedicar tu tiempo y entregarle tu corazón, porque si tú no te apoyas, jamás podrás avanzar y ser bilingüe. Gracias al programa de doble inmersión, podemos seguir desarrollándonos en los 2 idiomas. Yo estoy muy agradecido porque el programa de doble inversión en Canalino me ha dado la oportunidad de aprender inglés y a veces como niños pensamos que nuestra voz no importa. Pero gracias a las personas como ustedes nos damos cuenta que somos muy importantes. Gracias por escucharme y darme el espacio y el tiempo para compartir esto. Hi, my name is Derek. I came from Mexico and I had been here in the United States for 3 years. During my life, I have realized that being bilingual is a benefit from being able to say good morning to my teachers to being able to have a conversation in both languages. Also, being bilingual is not something that happens every night. You don't just wake up and they become bilingual. It is something that requires effort, dedication, and heart. Because if you don't support yourself, you will never progress in the becoming bilingual. Thanks to the dual immersion program, we can continue learning in the both language. I am very grateful because the dual immersion program at Canalino has given me the opportunity to learn English. So many times as children, we think that our voice doesn't matter, but thanks to people like you, we realize that we are very important. Thank you for listening to me and for giving me the space and time to share this.
Hola, mi nombre es Nicolás Ornelas y voy a la escuela Canalino donde aprendo en inglés y en el español. Poder hablar 2 idiomas significa que podré comunicarme por todo el mundo, lo que pronto me permitirá explorar con confianza. Para mí, conocer el idioma nativo de mi familia me permite conectar más profundamente a mi cultura, mi lengua y otras personas. Además, los beneficios de saber 2 idiomas significan más oportunidades para conseguir un buen trabajo cuando sea mayor. Estas son algunas razones por las que la educación bilingüe es importante y beneficia. Hi, my name is Nicolás Ornelas, and I go to Canalino Elementary School, where I learn in English and in Spanish. Being able to speak 2 languages means I will be able to communicate far into the world, which will soon enable me to explore with confidence. For me, knowing my family's native language allows me to connect deeper into my culture, language, and other people. In addition, the benefits of knowing 2 languages means more opportunities to get a great job when I get older. These are some reasons why bilingual education is important and beneficial.
Hi, my name is Kaya Smith. I'm here to share with you what it means to me to be bilingual. To me, being bilingual means you can explore different cultures, music, and books, and so much more. Being bilingual is helpful when you travel to other places like Mexico or Italy where they speak other languages. It's important to know how to speak and understand their native language, so you can be able to do more when you travel. Also, being bilingual allows you to listen to music of different genres in other languages. Being bilingual is truly an amazing benefit in so many ways. All in all, that's what being bilingual means to me. Hola, mi nombre es Kaya Smith. Estoy aquí para compartir contigo lo que significa para mí ser bilingüe. Para mí ser bilingüe significa que puedes explorar diferentes culturas, música, libros y mucho más. Ser bilingüe es útil cuando viajes a otros lugares como México o Italia, donde hablan otros idiomas. Es importante saber hablar y entender su lengua nativa para poder hacer más cosas cuando viajes. Además, ser bilingüe te permite escuchar música de distintos géneros en otros idiomas. Ser bilingüe es realmente un beneficio increíble de muchas maneras. En resumen, eso es lo que significa ser bilingüe para mí. Gracias por escuchar.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Gonzalez. To me, being bilingual is a beautiful and valuable skill with many benefits. It helps me connect with others, even if they come from different cultures, by building understanding and better communication. Also, being bilingual can improve my thinking skills, make problem solving easier, and even help slow down memory loss once I get older. I also feel it boosts my creativity and helps me remember things better. Lastly, knowing more than 1 language can create more job opportunities for me once I'm older, make it easier to adapt to new places, and give a better understanding and appreciation of different cultures. Hola, me llamo Rebecca González. Para mí, ser bilingüe es una habilidad hermosa y valiosa con muchos beneficios. Me ayuda a conectarme con otras personas, incluso si vienen de culturas diferentes, al generar comprensión y una mejor comunicación. Además, ser bilingüe puede mejorar mis habilidades de pensamiento, facilitar la resolución de problemas e incluso ayudar a retrasar la pérdida de memoria una vez que sea mayor. También siento que aumenta mi creatividad y me ayuda a recordar mejor las cosas. Por último, saber más de un idioma puede crearme más oportunidades laborales una vez que sea un adulto, facilitarme la adaptación a nuevos lugares y brindarme una mejor comprensión y apreciación de diferentes culturas. Hola, me llamo Jared Sánchez y para mí ser bilingüe es un gran beneficio por muchas razones. Por ejemplo, puedo conocer a más personas siendo bilingüe y es hermoso saber que puedes comunicarte con diferentes personas de diferentes lugares. Otro beneficio es que puedo conseguir un trabajo mejor cuando sea mayor porque puedo hablar 2 idiomas y entender más personas. Unos trabajos que puedo conseguir siendo bilingüe son siendo un traductor, intérprete y maestra o maestro bilingüe como Miss García. Pero no solo hay esos trabajos, sino mucho más. También ser bilingüe me ayudaría a entender otros idiomas como español, porque español es similar al portugués, italiano y catalán. Estas son solo algunas razones por qué ser bilingüe es porque ser bilingüe para mí es beneficioso. Hello, my name is Jared Sanchez, and being bilingual is an amazing benefit for many reasons. For example, I could get to meet more and different types of people being bilingual, and it's beautiful knowing that I could communicate with different people from different places. Another benefit is that I could get a better job I could get better jobs when I am older because I can speak 2 languages and understand more people. Some jobs that I could get for being bilingual are being a translator, interpreter, and a teacher that is bilingual like Miss Garcia. But there are not just those, but many more. While being bilingual, I can also understand other languages because Spanish is similar to Portuguese, Italian, and Catalan. These are just a few reasons why being bilingual is beneficial for me.
As you can see, our teachers and our students have been hard at work all year. And as you can see, our teachers and students have been hard at work all year, and we just want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to share. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the students. They're not only
Yes.
good speakers, but they're wonderful writers as well. Those are great essays.
Yes. Great job, everybody. Wow. Any comments from the board?
I'd just like to say it's so encouraging to see this. You know, I think I was the only one on the board when we started this as a trial program 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And there was some resistance in the community and in staff, but I think it's shown its value, and I think the community here of families that is participating. That's really what it comes down to be successful. Is you need the support of not just the staff and the administration, but you need the families and the students. Obviously, have bought into this and they see the value, and I'm just so glad that it has been successful. Now we've got it. We're offering it at Aliso as well, and I'm just so happy for all of you students that you're going to have this skill for your entire lives, and I think you're all recognizing the benefits and the advantages it's going to give you. So it's really good for us to see, because ultimately it's the decision of the board to offer programs like this, and I'm really glad that the board members we had back then were willing to do this, and it's paid off. So thank you all for participating and making the program so successful.
I just want to say this is really great. My first 2 kids missed the opportunity for the dual language immersion program, but number 3 is right in there at Canalino, and seeing whenever the dual language program, whether it's at the elementary level or the middle school level, seeing the presentations, it's as a parent who has a child in the program, it's really amazing to see where they will be in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or more, and the beyond the academics, what I've seen is relationally among the students what happens, and whether it's in the classroom or at a birthday party or at the playground or at the beach, and their ability to communicate and not have that barrier that was there that may have kept them from playing with the other kids right over there. That's gone, and that is no longer even something that's considered from what I've seen, and it's created just a stronger and bigger sense of community. It's broken down barriers between the kids, but also with the parents, and I'm really hopeful for where this will take us into the future as a people, as a whole, with more people being able to communicate. And Mr. Sanchez, as he said quite well, was explaining that the similarities between Spanish and other Latin-based languages, how that creates all these other opportunities to be able to communicate, even if it's a little looser. But I totally understand that. I took Spanish in junior high and then Italian in high school, and I mixed those two up so badly for so many years, but I got through it and was able to get back into it. But it really does carry you far. And so good job, parents. Good job, kids. Thank you so much, teachers. Where you have brought this program today is amazing. So thank you so much. We're really proud of this. Any final comments?
Before I forget and I escort our students home because they have homework and dinner. Alumnos, ¿qué se dice por los complementos? Complementos, ¿qué se dice? Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody.
Yeah, really.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, we are moving on to our LCAP mid-year update report presentation. Superintendent Rigby will present the LCAP report, mid-year update report.
Thank you. So you'll recall in June, you approved our local control and accountability plan for 3 years. So the goals that we discussed and we approved are for 3 years, and this is the first report of progress towards those goals. We had 5 major areas for goals: student achievement, student well-being and parent participation, college and career readiness, facilities, and student achievement for special education students. The first goal. So our first goal focuses on student achievement, high-quality standards-based instruction that's differentiated for every student. We identified actions at the elementary, middle school, and high school level that would work towards making progress towards that goals. Our mid-year expenditures are about approximately $1.4 million. And you'll notice that the actions are relative to the grade levels. What's similar is that we have funded early release for elementary and middle school, and at high school we have late start Mondays. So what has really been important work is our teachers are at grade level teams at the elementary, and departments at middle school and high school, they form professional learning communities. And on a weekly and monthly basis, they're monitoring academic progress of students, especially those students in the disaggregated student groups. And then they are determining interventions that need to be put in place to support those students. So at the elementary level, we have reading intervention specialists that support reading. At the middle school level, We support teachers providing after-school tutoring. And at the high school, they have an advisory period in which content teachers provide specific support for students as well as the Student Success Center. In addition, we provide professional development for teachers. And in the elementary level, we're focusing on math this year. And they've received professional development during that early release times in the areas of math. For the secondary, we provided some professional development, artificial intelligence, as well as at the middle school, they are working at implementing strategies for special ed students in the regular ed classrooms, and at the secondary level, they've been involved in their WASC process as part of their professional development. Okay, the next page indicates our mid-year outcome data, and I'll remind you that this data is from June 2024, and we're required to report, of course, the CASP data. So I want to remind everybody that for progress, our groups that scored higher than the county and the state were 3rd grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, our English learners, our economically disadvantaged, and our white student groups. Our goal, of course, is 50% or more of our students will achieve at and above grade level, and so grade 5, we already met that goal. And remember, these are 3-year goals, so we're already making progress towards that goal. For groups that scored higher than the county, that's all student groups, 4th grade and students with disabilities, and our Hispanic groups of students. Our English language arts scores have increased 12% for 5th grade, 7% for 8th grade, and 1% for 11th grade. So the highlighted scores indicate progress since last year. Students with disabilities, we have a 13% increase for 5th grade and an 8% increase for 11th grade. And so we met the goal at 11th grade. And then we also include our STAR reading, because that is closer to actually what our students are achieving. Our goal is that 60% are reading at and above grade level at 3rd grade, and we've already met that goal, so we expect that there will be more students at and above grade level by June. Then our next goal is similar in math, and however, our goal was 40% of our students would be at and above grade level. And the good news is that most of our groups scored higher than the county and the state. So all student groups, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, and 8th grade, English learners, economically disadvantaged, students with disabilities, Hispanic and white, all scored higher than the state scores and the county scores. And then we met the goal in 8th grade, in which we had more than 40% of our students at and above grade level. Groups that scored higher than the county, just the county, were 11th grade. And then our math scores increased by 11% for 5th grade and 4% for grade 8. Our economically disadvantaged subgroups saw an increase of 8% for 5th grade and 1% for 8th grade, so we met the goal for 5th grade. Our Hispanic subgroup increased their scores by 5%, so they met our goal. And with our STAR math, 60% of our 3rd graders scored at and above grade level, so we've met that goal. Our next goal, our next metrics, it's still focused on student achievement, is particularly for our students with learning English language. So our number of EL students have decreased by 77 students. We have, in 2023, we had 408 English learners. Now we have 331. We expect 30% of our students to score a 4 in the LPAC, so we still need to make progress on that goal. 36% of our English learners are making progress towards English language proficiency, and again, our goal is 60%. 10.9% of English learners were reclassified by grade 6, so that was 36 students. Again, our goal is at least 30%. We have decreased our long-term English learners from 11.5% to 7.7%, and our goal is to decrease the long-term English learners to 5%. We had 111 long-term English learners in 2023, and last year we had 68. The other metric we use is student grades, and so we have shown an increase of the students earning a 3.0 or higher for fall semester, and so we've met the goal. And we also showed an increase of high school students who earned a 3.0 or higher. It increased by 7%. And they've met the goal because we expect more than 70% will earn a 3.0 or higher. And the last metrics are associated with our full implementation of academic standards. 100% of our students have access to instructional materials, and we've met the goal except for our percent of teachers who are appropriately assigned and fully credentialed. We expect 100%, and we only have 80% at this time because we have hired DLI teachers who are still working on their BCLAD, and our special ed teachers now are required to have a new authorization. They are credentialed for special ed, but in the field of special education, they've required a new authorization for autism if you're teaching students on the autism spectrum, of which all of our special ed teachers work with students on the spectrum. So they need to earn that special authorization in order for this to be considered fully credentialed. Our next goal is associated with student engagement and positive school culture, as well as parent participation. And these are all the activities associated at the different levels that we've put in place to make progress towards that goal. And our mid-year expenditures are $223,717. What we've measured is we use our Healthy Kids Survey for these measurements, and we implemented a 24-25 survey this fall, and so those are our results. Our first metric was school connectedness, and we met the goal, and we increased by 1%. Students who reported schools are safe increased by 1%, and we've met the goal for 90% or higher. Our parent participation, our goal is 75% or more, and it's at 68%, so we still have work to do there. And then for attendance, we have increased our daily attendance, but not have met the goal yet. We've decreased our chronic absenteeism by 2%, but our goal is 10% or less for chronic absenteeism. And we have decreased our suspension and expulsion rates, and we've met the goal because our expectation is 5% or less. Our next goal is students graduate being ready for college and career, and we've spent mid-year $46,723, and we have computer science courses, an introductory CTE wheel, and AVID classes at the middle school, and then we have quite a few programs at the high school related to our CTE pathways, an internship program, alignment of our SBCC courses with the CTE pathways, as well as increase of our dual enrollment classes. And our measurements are related to our graduation rates, in which our goal is 100%, and we've not met that yet. Our college and career readiness, our goal is 70% or more. We're still working on that goal. Meeting our UC-CSU requirements, we have not met that yet. That goal is 65% or more. Advanced placement, we expect 30% of our students score 3% or higher, and we have 25%. And then,
not 3%.
I'm sorry?
The 3, not a 3%.
Oh, I'm sorry, score 3 or higher.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yes, our goal is 30%, but at 3 or more higher. And then our enrollment, however, of our AP honors and dual enrollment classes, we have met the goal of 73% for enrollment. We continue with looking at our enrollment in the CTE courses and meeting UC requirements. Our goal is 55% or more students will complete at least one CTE pathway. We have 44% from last year. Last year, we had 45% of our students enrolled in CTE courses, and our goal is 60% or more. We did have an increase of our students meeting the UC and Cal State requirements, and they've completed at least one CTE pathway. We also met the goal of students earning the state seal of biliteracy, and that increased by 2%. And then our high school dropout rates have gone in the wrong direction because our goal is 0% for high school dropout rates. Our next goal is related to facilities, and the funds that we connect with these actions are not part of the LCAP, but this is part of our goal. Our district goals is that our facilities are safe, updated, and well-maintained for all students and staff. And the activities, again, are listed by the different age spans, and they're very similar from site to site. The one difference is our Measure U projects right now are at the elementary level. So our goal was to, or our goals are to keep our facilities clean and well-maintained, and 84% of our students reported that schools are clean, and that increased by 1%. Staff, 84%, parents, 90%, and our goal is that all three groups will report, 90% of all three groups will report favorably. And then for Measure U projects, our goal was that the Learning Center at Catalina would be completed in December 2024. We met that goal, and that we would begin the Aliso TK and K project, and that has begun, so we've met that goal. And our last goal is associated with students with disabilities, and that they will increase their performance on both the math and the ELA CASP. Again, those funds are not included in the LCAP, but our activities related to this goal is that we implemented math and English language arts formative assessments, and we provided targeted support and interventions for special ed students. And if you look at the next page, you'll see that we've increased our English language arts scores by 3.7%, and our students scored higher than, they scored higher last year than the year before, and that students with disabilities scored higher than the county average. And then in math, our students with disabilities scored higher both than with the county and the state, compared to the county and the state, and that more students with disabilities met or exceeded the math proficiency on math CASP, and their scores increased by 3.5%, but our goal remains we want to see a 5% increase each year. So that is the progress based on our metrics for the mid-year of the first year of the LCAP. And so in June, you will see that we have refined our goals to pivot in the areas in which we're not making the kind of progress that we expected. And that for the goals where we've made progress, then we will increase what the goal attainment is for those particular areas.
Okay, questions from the board?
Just looking for a little clarification on the CTE pathway. So that's, the student has to complete 2 years of a particular pathway?
Yes.
To make that?
Yes, like
okay.
For example, they in 9th grade would take a culinary, and in 10th grade they take advanced techniques for culinary or for ag sciences.
Okay, so do we understand what's driving these numbers as to why?
Well, that's what Mr. Caneer and his staff are investigating so that we can pivot and have more kids participate. But I know from this year's enrollment that this was last year compared to the year before. Mm-hmm. So this year's enrollment is higher, and we have more students that will be completing those pathways. So in June, we'll report that data.
So in June, we'll have more students that have completed
Yes.
year number 2 on that pathway?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we know that because of the enrollment of this year.
Yeah, okay. Great.
I would imagine that this partially related to the ag mechanics. Mr. Lopez took a job down in his hometown
For last year.
Right. And so that reduced the ag mechanics offerings, and I think that probably is affecting that
last year.
That last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But we provided different courses for this year. We've added courses.
Yes.
So that will change that result.
Yeah. I was so I'll just start at the beginning here. So we go to the English learner progress and the progress towards being reclassified. Is that kind of a that goal gets harder and harder as we reclassify more and more
Yes.
students
Yes.
because the ones that are left are the students that are struggling to
Are really struggling.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a difficult goal then.
Yes. Plus, they also changed the requirements when you reclassify special ed students. So that is also made.
they did.
Yes. So that's also made an impact.
And okay, so that and then so they've added so if you go to the special ed educators, the CalPads,
Yes.
and having teachers that the DLI not DLI the SPED teachers, is that SPED? No, that's the BCLAD. Yeah,
Well,
special ed
yes.
teachers.
Assignment.
Yeah,
Yes.
having appropriate assignment.
Yes.
So that went down by 6%, but that's because a new requirement has been added?
Yes. So all of our teachers have special education credentials.
Yeah.
What has been added in special education is that if you teach any student on the autism spectrum, you need special authorization for autism. That's a new requirement. So our teachers are working on that, but they did not, when we hired them, they did not necessarily have that special authorization, especially if you've been teaching for a long time.
Yeah.
The newer graduates will have that authorization.
Okay.
When was that requirement effective?
Last year.
Okay, so that actually doesn't apply to here because this is 22-23 data, not
It's
24.
22-23. Yes, so it was 2 years ago.
Last year was,
Yeah.
but the 80% applies to before that.
No, it was 2 years ago. It started 2 years ago.
Okay.
In 22-23.
Okay.
And then if we go to the Healthy Kids Survey, and are we getting good participation in that from parents? Or-
No.
No, we're not.
Not from parents, not from staff, but really good participation from students.
Students, okay. Okay, so we're getting probably, okay, well, that,
However, the Healthy Kids, the county-wide committee that looks at Healthy Kids survey and looks at the data, and we compare ourselves countywide, we're all within the normal limits in terms of the number of staff and parents that are reporting.
Okay.
They don't expect more than
So-
15, 20%.
so just about everybody, like,
Yeah.
it's nothing out of the ordinary.
Nothing out of the ordinary, no.
It'd be helpful to have context because a percentage without knowing the percentage of responses without of a specific question, like in one way or another.
Oh, sure.
Without knowing
That makes sense, yes.
the percentage of
Yeah.
parents or the number
Yeah,
of people
Yes.
participating in it.
Yes.
It doesn't.
It'd be nice to
If
get
there's a
that-
low number of people participating,
Yes.
10%, 20, 30% is, I mean, it's not necessarily reflective.
Right.
When you
And
extrapolate
UCSB
it
is
out.
still conducting the survey?
No, it's West Ed.
It's West Egg. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I think it started at UCSB and then it became adopted by the state.
I don't know
I believe
that.
the Healthy Kids Survey, California
Yeah.
Healthy Kids Survey, didn't start out
You
as.
might know that. I don't know
Yeah,
that,
Okay.
yes,
Well,
'cause that
I
was
think
way
they were
before my
trialing it
time.
a long time ago and then,
Mhm.
Okay. Well, it would be good to get that, to give some context to how many people are actually responding to this.
Yeah, it's a small percentage for adults,
And then.
but it's the same every year, so it's nothing new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, as far as AP scoring 3 or higher, so we have a lot of participation in AP and honors class and
Yes.
dual enrollment classes.
Mm-hmm.
But are we having is it an instructional issue? Is that why we're not getting as many kids passing the tests or getting a 3 or higher?
That's a question for Mr. Caneo. That's what we do.
It'd be nice to get, because I know, just based on my kids' participation in those classes, the level of the instructional rigor varied greatly from class to class.
Well, it shouldn't in an AP class.
No, it should not, but it does. And
Well, that's definitely going to affect the quality of the AP scores.
So we touched on the CTE already. I think that was it. That's everything I have.
Okay. Anybody else before I start? Okay. Can you clarify? You said that at the high school, back to goal 1 under actions, the WASC process is part of PD, and explain how that is part of is that because it's a task that needs to be done, or is it professional development?
Yeah,
Like what
it's
about it is professional development.
The part that really brings the teachers together is their discussions around what the quality of standards or expectations they have for student work, and how they're going to devise interventions in terms of helping those students who are not performing at grade level. That's all part of the WASC process because it's all focused on student progress. So it really helps the individual departments to explain their process for setting the standards, what curriculum they're using, and what strategies they're using for disaggregated student groups, and the kind of progress that those disaggregated student groups are making, and what they're doing for interventions. So the departments actually write reports about all those aspects, and then they share it across departments. So it's almost professional development within their own school site. And then it's evaluated according to the WASC standards. WASC has set some standards, and so they have to compare what they're doing at the school site to the WASC high school standards.
Okay, thank you. And again, noting that this is year 1 of 3, this is a mid-year of year 1 of 3 years of
Yes.
goals. So I don't expect us to be knocking it out of the park on all of them right out of the gate. But there are a number of areas where we dropped below our baseline. And so I'm hoping that, first of all, we don't see us, because we've had gains or maybe have met goals, we aren't saying, oh, we've met the goals, so we can back off, that we keep pursuing to continue advancing that. But also we are really doubling down or tripling down on the areas where we've seen decreases. And so, and I'm like, what are we attributing decreases to? Our baseline data, looking through this, if you don't pay attention, and I believe this is because the different tests are offered at different times of the year, when the different reports come out are at different times of the year. So some are 22-23 baseline with a 23-24 outcome data. Some are earlier than that. So you have to kind of understand that this is not comparing same grades even when we're looking at 5th graders down the row.
Right.
It's not the same 5th graders all the way down the row. And it's years previous too, but
you should see increases.
Yeah,
That
we
is
should
the
be seeing
expectation.
increases,
Yes.
and there's a number of areas where we're not.
Yes.
And so I just want to emphasize that is having checks early on like this are the things that help us understand we're going to be looking, I'm asking, I'm not going to assume. When we see decreases, what are we looking at this point in the year? Are we going to, I don't want us to be knee-jerk reacting to things, but at the same time, I want us to be mindful and thoughtful about how we move forward as far as is a new curriculum that's not working? Is it a new process? Is it something with a specific cohort, a remnant of COVID? Like, what is the reason for these decreases? And how are we responding to it? And how are we finding out the reason, and how are we responding to it?
So what we've been doing all along at leadership team is that we continue to monitor. It's really about monitoring progress of students. And you do it by grade level and you do it by classroom. So that's the responsibility of the principals in working with their grade level teams and working with teachers at those particular grade levels, because it's all about instruction in the classroom. Our curriculum is sound. It is not about our curriculum. It is about how that curriculum is taught, how we're evaluating whether students have met the standard and have not met the standard, and then what are you doing differently in the class to help those students meet the standard, and what resources are you bringing to bear to that particular grade level or that particular department. For example, at the middle school, when we look at student grades, we look at all the departments and we look at all the classrooms to look at the grade range. And when we have such disparity among grades, we need to look at what the student work looks like. Let's take the science department. We have a number of teachers in that science department. If the grades are so disparate, and yet they're teaching the same content, and they're teaching the similar students in the classrooms, we need to understand what that instruction looks like, why is it different, and why are different students making progress where other students are not across the classrooms. So those are the conversations that we have at the leadership team, and then the principals are working with their grade level teams and their departments to not only to monitor the progress, it's not only in analyzing the progress, but then you have to determine what the interventions look like and measure how well those interventions are working. But it absolutely is reflective of the instruction in that particular classroom.
Okay.
So it's professional development, supporting teachers, and helping teachers learn different ways to work with different groups of students, which is why the professional development for middle school has spent time focusing on how they work with special ed students in their classrooms. And you notice the special ed students have shown some growth in math and English language arts, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really the
fifth grade.
disaggregated groups of students that are not making the kind of progress that we expect.
8th and 11th is the same from year to year, but 8th grade went from 18% to 0%.
In special ed?
Yeah.
Yes.
In math. And then in English, okay, hang on. This is making me wonder. It's also 0% for English language arts. It went from 17% to 0% for 8th grade.
Last year.
Yes. So that's pretty significant.
Yes.
But
and you recall
Yeah.
the challenges in special education last year at the middle school.
Yep. Okay. English learners also really didn't make much gains in math or English. In English language arts, we had 5% growth in 11th grade from 0% baseline. 8th grade, it's dashed out. We didn't have any English
We don't have enough to
learners.
be the group 20.
Okay, so that didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was down from 8% to 0% in 5th grade. And then similarly in math, and reclassification rates, our ELPI and our LPAC. So what from previous are we looking forward to doing differently or engaging more strenuously? What types of changes are we going to make with are we making with our English learners to move forward with that?
We changed the ELD program at the elementary after last year. So we've implemented a new ELD program, a different way of instructing ELD at the elementary level for this school year.
Great.
And our hypothesis is that this different way of instruction with smaller groups, more focused on specific standards for language development, will be more effective than what was in place last year.
Thank you.
What's the relationship with these grades for students that were out that year and a half with COVID, that were being taught at home? Is that have you figured that out, or is that not taken into account? It'd be 5th graders? No, 8th graders.
Well, all of them.
Yeah.
Yes, but
I mean,
I would say at this time, we should be showing increases in progress. I mean, I think we know what the issues are, and we've been working with it for the last 3 years, and so we should be showing more progress.
okay. Let's see here. So for the metrics of goal 3, sorry, moving on to goal 3.
Yeah.
All students all students will graduate from high school, be college and career ready. This has been the idea of what we're considering college and career ready, has been brought up in the past and how we measure that. And I'm forgive me for not, other than A through G, and possibly making aside from passing A through G, what is the metric for college and career readiness?
There's three elements. A through G, it's passing the CASP, math and English, and it is math or it's one of the two that you have to pass, and then you have to complete a CTE pathway.
Okay, so passing one of the two, is that our own metric or is that a state standard?
No, this is a state
That's
for
a
college
state
and career
standard.
readiness.
Okay, thank you. And then college and career readiness also requires completing a CTE pathway?
Yes.
So if students are interested in something other than a CTE pathway that we offer, they would not be considered college and career ready? If they weren't interested in ag or culinary?
I shouldn't say complete. They have to take one CTE class, excuse me.
Okay.
One CTE class.
So taking a class, not completing a pathway.
No, correct.
Okay.
That's right, yeah.
Thank you, because that would definitely...
Yeah, make it much more challenging.
Make it very challenging. Let's see here. Students who completed at least one pathway. I do want to, I think there was confusion because this is from of the baseline of 22-23 with the mid-year data from 23-24. But Mr. Lopez left at the end of 24. So he was here during that drop. And so I don't know what else we want to look. I mean, I know plenty of kids who took several initial courses of CTE, but it wasn't something that they wanted to pursue. Ag wasn't something they wanted to pursue. Culinary wasn't necessarily something they wanted to pursue. They took at least 1 year of several different CTE courses, but didn't complete. So I don't know. I mean, we want kids to be completing CTE pathways, but also are we, and again, this may be getting too knee-jerk. I feel like maybe we need another milestone down. But they're wonderful programs, but is there a shift in where students are wanting to go? And so the pathways we currently have maybe are not meeting. I mean, we're close. It's not like this is the beginning of a 3-year goal, but I think something we need to keep on mind. And I know that Gerardo is really great at looking at future pathways as well, and not necessarily that we need to not do pathways. I believe the future is CT pathways, but what we're offering, we just need to make sure that is engaging the most students so that they do at least want to complete it if they start it. I don't know how to.
I think we have 4.
Yeah.
So we've got the engineering,
Mhm.
we have ag, we have culinary, and we have visual arts.
Yes.
Fine. Yeah. So, we have a good array, broad interest, or broad.
And the ag is really not just ag. It includes ag mechanics is you're doing small engines, you're doing electrical, you're doing welding, you're doing some fabrication. So
I think it's too early to make much of the why there's a drop. I think we need another point, but if it continues to drop, we need to look at why it's dropping down the line. This is the completion rate.
I think there were a number of kids that moved from ag last year to the engineering, and we all, that was our first year really of the engineering pathway. And so there wasn't a completion there, but a lot of students who had maybe taken ag mechanics 1 and 2 didn't go to 3,
Okay.
and they moved to engineering. So I think, I think that because the participation levels in these classes is very high.
Yeah, it's
I can get the
just
data for you.
Well, and like I said,
Mr. Corneo has that data.
This isn't
office.
something
Yes.
to like do anything with yet, but it's more of a flag. Like we want to keep an eye and make sure that the interest and the enrollment stays up, and if there's something we can do to encourage students, or how we can better encourage students to finish the pathway or a pathway.
So I think in the ag you have, you could go several ways. You could do ag mechanics, or you could do vet medicine.
Yeah.
And,
So, point being,
Yeah.
I think once we get more points down, more touchstones down the line, we'll be able to kind of sleuth out, and maybe that will go up. It was maybe the shifting into engineering from ag or something like that. So, it's just one of those things I want to flag that we want to keep an eye on to make sure that what we're offering stays relevant for the students we have. That's all. Let's see here. Okay, that's all I got. Okay, so this is no action. This was just a presentation and update report. Any further comments from the board? Okay, thank you very much. Sure. I mean, we're doing well in a lot of areas. I think it's our job to look at the areas where we're struggling and figuring out how to move forward. So, thank you.
Sure. And I'll get the information from Mr. Corneo regarding the ag pathways, because he has it at his fingertips.
Yeah, and that if it's as simple as something like we had a bunch there and they moved into
Well,
a
he'll be
different
able to
pa-
say that.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Okay. We are now moving on to F, business operations and facilities. If you would like to make public comment on anything under F, please step up to the podium at this time.
First, shame on you, Mr. Schaefer, for blaming Salvador Lopez for the poor CTE numbers in the LCAP. It's not his fault that he had to leave.
We're not
CUSD.
speaking about the LCAP right
His
now.
fault he had to
Excuse
leave
me,
CUSD
we're not
'cause he
speaking
didn't
about
pay
the
him enough.
LCAP. And so if you would like to comment on
CUSD
F,
leadership
business
and
operations
the
and
employees
facilities.
we represent want to thank those community members who provide grants and gifts to the CUSD without any unethical or unprofessional strings attached. Special thanks to teacher Ryan Ethington and previously custodian Eric Queller for their generous gifts to Mr. Pavilla's music program. Both offer their donations to support students, the music program, and the extraordinary contribution of Mr. Pavilla that he provides our district. These donations are even more remarkable given the compensation that Mr. Queller and Mr. Ethington receive from CUSD and the patience they have demonstrated while enduring the absence of any cost of living increase throughout the last 21 months, all while the highest paid CUSD administrators provided themselves 2 salary increases, totaling 10 to 12%. These donations are especially valuable at this time because they arrive after another theft has occurred recently on the CMS campus, a theft that occurred when the previous theft of music equipment was brushed under the rug. And our security systems were not hardened in any way, Ms. Rigby. It is no wonder that similar theft occurred once again and that employees are now donating precious dollars to support the music program directly. To further clarify, the board and the community should be aware that concerns regarding security pertaining to the exploratory music lab and band room were clearly expressed by employees before this second theft. Unfortunately, they were also, as is much of the experience and insight of highly qualified employees in the district, thoroughly disregarded by both Ms. Pursoon and Ms. Rigby, even though tens of thousands of dollars of district-owned and privately owned equipment is stored in the music lab and band room. This time, unlike the last time similar theft occurred, district admin had stated that the district will replace what is taken. It won't be the responsibility of Mr. Queller and Mr. Ethington, thank goodness, to replace that equipment. But this is yet to be seen. So let's hope these aren't empty promises. Meanwhile, Mr. Pavia will receive gifts and donations and try to again cobble together the materials needed to provide high-quality instruction to students in the exploratory music lab. Mr. Queller and Mr. Ethington's donations will certainly help replace some of the items that were recently stolen, including 8 headphone sets, 8 guitars, 1 ukulele, 2 keyboards, 2 practice drum set pads, a very large set of Congo drums, the Apple TV and Wi-Fi device, and even a red emergency backpack that probably contained detailed school maps, safety protocol responses, and even cue cards for an emergency event to communicate with law enforcement.
Okay.
I thought we didn't
Shame on
have
you
that
again.
stuff.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the warrants of February 7th through February 20th.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And F2, gifts, grants, donations. We have, let's see here, I'm going to go ahead and read them all out, and we can do one motion covering all of them if we're okay with that. Gifts, grants, and donations. 2A, donation from Amy Blakemore to CUSD Middle School Music Department. Ms. Blakemore is donating a Casio digital piano and stand valued at $295. We have a donation from Jane Craven and CEF to CUSD CHS Engineering Club. Jane Craven and CEF is donating $1,500 to the Warrior Engineering Workshop Club. 2C, we have a donation from Terry Wag to Carpinteria Unified School District, CHS FFA. The board is asked to accept the donation from Terry Wag of $500 to CUSD CHS FFA Club. And 2D, a donation from Ryan Ethington to CUSD Elementary Music Program. Mr. Ethington is donating a small size violin valued at $50 to the elementary music program. So I just like to say thank you so much to everybody with their donations. If I could get a motion for 2A through D.
I'll move to approve with gratitude to all of those. Thank you very much.
I'll second that motion, and thank you.
Discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And moving on to G, Measure U. If you would like to make public comment on Measure U, G, Measure U, now is the time. Please step up to the podium. Not seeing any. We will move on to G1, approval of architectural services from Robert Robles for Canalino Elementary School and Aliso Elementary School. We're being asked to approve the proposal for architectural services for the removal of portables at Aliso Elementary School and Canalino Elementary School. The estimated fee of $15,200 based on Robert Robles' proposal will be paid with Measure U bond funds. Any questions from the board? May I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. H, personnel. If you'd like to make a comment on personnel, please step up to the podium at this time.
So the union's remarks will be generally focused on resolution number 25935, which seeks the approval to release 4 highly qualified and desperately needed teachers who CUSD will release with this resolution due to your own fiscal mismanagement. It should be known that these teachers were not associated with any performance concerns. They received positive performance evaluations. They were not deficient in any way, and they have dedicated themselves, their integrity, and their talents to the students, families, and colleagues of Carpinteria. To senior administrators like Ms. Rigby and the school board, these teachers are literally just numbers on a resolution, but to the students and district colleagues, the termination of these employees is much more personal and harmful. Once again, we are witnessing yet another self-inflicted wound. The release of 4 teachers also did not have to happen. CUSD receives more than sufficient revenues to maintain these valuable human and student-centered resources. But how could CUSD possibly afford to keep these young, talented teachers when CUSD invests so much money in frivolous and unlawful disciplinary actions, a whopping $3.5 million in the last 2 years? And how could CUSD afford to maintain these positions when it provides district administrators 2 salary increases while refusing to respect and value the stability of teachers and support staff by either providing a cost of living increase in over 20 months or even budgeting for a cost of living increase adjustment in the 3-year district budget that lays ahead, not even budgeting for it. For clarity, here's how these cuts work. When a teacher is hired, they do not receive any job security for at least the first 2 years. During this period, teachers are terribly vulnerable to each and every administrative whim, unethical demand, political passion, etc. of senior management. Because even when these probationary teachers are fabulous by all measurements, the district is legally permitted to non-reelect them, which really means terminate them, at any time in the first 2 years, without citing any reason whatsoever. And to be certain, this annual release of probationary employees, it's not a one-off. Last year it was 12 employees. This year so far, it's 4 employees. It's not an outlier, it's a routine. It's the way Ms. Rigby does business, and it couldn't happen if you didn't support it. So we hire talent who are brave enough to take the risk, and then just before they reach permanent status, we cut them before they can safely advocate for themselves, their colleagues, and their students. Good job. You own it.
Okay. May I get a motion? We have our H1 personnel summary. The board is asked to approve the following recommended personnel items. Leave of absence, 1 personnel, coaching extended season winter, 4 personnel, spring coaching assignments, 17 personnel. May I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve. I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then H2, resolution number 25-935, non-reelect a certificated probationary employee, public employee discipline dismissal release pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The board is asked to approve resolution number 25-935, non-reelect a certificated probationary employee, public employee discipline dismissal release pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. Do we need to go through the?
Yeah.
Do you have the form for me?
It should be in your packet.
No. Okay, resolution 25935. Whereas California Education Code Section 44929.21 requires that the Board of Trustees notify a probationary employee in a position requiring certification qualifications of the decision to reelect or not reelect the employee to such a position for succeeding school year. And whereas the employees identified in Exhibit A hereto are probationary employees in positions requiring certification qualifications, and whereas the Board of Trustees of the Carpinteria Unified School District has determined not to reelect the employees identified in Exhibit A for the 25-26 school year, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Carpinteria Unified School District directs the superintendent or designee to deliver a notice of non-reelection to the employees identified in Exhibit A. I need a motion, and then we will do a roll call. And the motion, there are
to approve
4
resolution number 25-935.
To not, you have to fully state.
Oh, okay. 25935, a non-reelect for certificated probationary employees. Employee number 1710. Employee number 226, employee number 995, and employee number 1577.
We have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Discussion? Okay, this is roll call.
Eric?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Sally?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
I'm aye.
Adopted by the Board of Trustees of Carpinteria Unified School District on this 25th day of February 2025 in Santa Barbara County. We have 5 ayes, none abstaining or voting no. And that passes. Okay. We are moving on to I, future agenda items. If you'd like to make public comment on future agenda items, please step up to the podium at this time.
Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. I really hope that the proposed budget will benefit everyone, teachers, students, employees. The budget is basically due to property sales. Last month in Carpinteria, there were only 10 properties sold our town. This month, February, 16 months have been sold or they're pending. Pending meaning that I've seen properties falling out of escrow. And February in the county, 82 properties for sale or pending, meaning that it's a seller's market. People are not selling. Only if there's an emergency that they have to move out of town for whatever reason. That's when they sell. Otherwise, they won't. Don't blame them. Properties are rising 6.5%. It's all right. I mean, don't blame them. I wouldn't sell my property. I wouldn't. Buyers don't have many choices because it's a seller's market. So the seller determines the property value. We don't know how the current Trump administration will affect our budget. We don't know. We don't know what is going to happen with the Department of Education. For example, public schools sharing money with private schools. Probably school lunches will be cut. That's federal, isn't it? Any federal, or the district receives some federal assistance. Isn't that right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So at the last 3 board meetings, union leadership requested that the board include a few items on a future agenda. First, we asked it, and again asked that the board explore a resolution that educates kids on what to do if someone enters their physical space with a firearm. 1, stop. 2, don't touch. 3, leave. 4, tell an adult. And if you can't do that, call 911. Not a single district official has responded to this request, which has been made at no less than 10 board meetings. Second, we again asked the board to explore the concept of exit interviews to acquire a better understanding of why CUSD employees leave the district. Not why employees in general leave their jobs, but why district employees who intended to provide CUSD many more years of quality service leave CUSD. Not a single district official has responded to that request either. a request that's been made at no less than 8 board meetings. Finally, we asked the board to explore at a future board meeting why, even though CUSD is a basic aid district and it is in the top 4% of the most robustly funded TK through 12 school districts in the state, why are both expenditures per pupil and teacher salaries so far below state averages at every school site? Aliso, expenditures per pupil, negative 19.9 compared to the state. Canalino, negative 27.3 compared to the state. The middle school, negative 13.6. And at the high school, negative 22.8. And at the family school, the whopping 44, negative 44% less than the average spent across the state. When we mentioned this at the last 2 board meetings, Superintendent Rigby discounted this data, the district's very own data, stating that it was a year old. And she failed to share that the SARC data is always a year behind the current. And if it were crunched today, the numbers would be far worse because there has not been a cost of living increase in 21 months and because the district, according to its own audit, failed to invest the required over $3.5 million in teachers that it should have invested. So if you wish to focus on this distraction that Ms. Rigby is so good at throwing out there, and you all just jump right on it, the data is a year old. Think for yourselves who was in charge a year ago. Superintendent Rigby, 7+ years ago, she arrived. Board member Diamond, 4+ years on the board. Board member Smith, 4+ years on the board. Board member Green, 6+ years on the board. Board member Bridgeford, 2+ years on the board. And Mr. Schaefer, a whopping 15 years on the board. So I'm not sure that the year-old data makes that much of a difference when we look at accountability and who's responsible for these figures. It's time to run this district better. Thank you.
So for future agenda items, we have coming up our second interim budget, our second interim report, our 25-26 proposed budget, and a transportation plan. Are there any requests from the board for other items at this time? No? Okay. Nothing notable on the board calendar. We do have our expulsion hearing on Thursday. Board announcements.
Swim season's starting.
Yes, it is.
It's going to be exciting. Also, I spoke on it earlier about the FFA, but I cannot be more proud of that group. Especially when I reflect back and see how some of these students were so scared to speak in front of their classes, much less a group of adults. Mm-hmm. And they're standing up in front of auditoriums full, stadiums really. I mean, small basketball stadiums full of people and giving long, eloquent speeches and winning awards. And I just, FFA's not just about animals or farming. It's about developing skills that they're going to have for the rest of their life, and I cannot be more proud of our program and the work that Miss Emily Garcia is doing. She's taken on an awful lot of responsibility there, and she's really doing an excellent job. And I just I don't get to be around these kids as much as I was because I don't have any kids in school, but when I am, I'm always impressed. And I just, I think our community should be really very proud of, and I know they are, of the program. And I'm hoping we'll be announcing the drive-through barbecue for the spring sometime soon.
Okay. Anyone else? So a few things. We have lots of, I feel like we hit February, March, and all of a sudden, there's spring break, and then the rest of the year just flies by with so many activities. And so just noting that there are a whole bunch of different school events going on across the schools. Career Day, College and Career Day at Canalino. Lots of field trips coming up. And just to touch on field trips, I think it's important to note that a lot of our field trips are grant funded. And as far as future field trips, we are working with finding partners if we need to fill gaps in the future. But like the field trips in particular today are grant funded. And so anyways, we have a lot of marine science programs that are happening right now, which I am particularly fond of. And so I'm really excited for all the kids that will get access to our oceans and access to marine science and a bunch of different very hands-on types of opportunities. I want to bring up that the board finished 4 different meet and greets at the different school sites. We met at Canalino for Canalino and Family School. We met at the middle school, we met at the high school, and we met at Aliso for Aliso and Summerland. And it was an opportunity to meet and talk with teachers and staff at each of the sites in a casual setting, not about anything in particular. It was an opportunity to get to know each other, great conversations, a really good opportunity, especially if you maybe didn't have kids at that site, getting to know the staff on a more personal level. In both ways. And so I really appreciated that. I want to thank everybody that was able to make it and recognize that not everybody was, because there's so much going on. And we look forward to continuing this into the future and get some type of ongoing schedule for these. I'd also like to point out that I just want to take a moment. Several weeks ago, we lost a staff member, Eric Reeder, and who was with special education at Aliso. And he was a very iconic person over at Aliso. And so our thoughts and prayers are with him, his family, and his friends and colleagues. There is a clear void in their hearts at Aliso right now. And so I just want to recognize that and recognize his time at the district. It was how many years? He was there for 3 years. And in those 3 years, he did a lot of really good work with our students and made great connections with our staff. So just take a moment real quick for Eric. Thank you. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I feel like there's something coming up, but the Girls Inc. Gala was this weekend, and I was offered a ticket to attend. It was an amazing event, raising a lot of money for.
They raised over $200,000.
Oh wow! I turned in.
Incredible.
It went late, and I turned into a pumpkin after 9, so I was out of there. But yeah, it was an amazing night with a lot of people that love our community and love the work that Girls Inc. is doing, and recognizing that it serves all our students, whether they're and students not from CUSD, all of our youth in Carpinteria. So incredible work. I believe Boys and Girls, that was it. Boys and Girls Club has their event coming up.
March 14th, I think.
Yep. Okay. Am I forgetting something on that? No, I think that's it. Okay. All right. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you. Good night.